And good morning everyone and a very warm welcome. So digital India is being talked about a lot. There is a lot of talk also about digital transformation in enterprises, and as part of media we get a lot of inputs from the industry, both from the vendor side as well as the end user side, as to what really it means and how it's going to transform our IT infrastructure. Now there is a very clear case behind why digital transformation is being talked about a lot, because we have to gear ourselves for the new age IT that as businesses we all have to face, that's going to hit upon us. So digital transformation for your legacy infrastructure is also important, because you want new customers, you want your existing customers to not fall behind as far as the experience is concerned. You want your business to grow, capture new markets, and being a global economy, you really have to be into it. The excuse that I cannot offer such a service, or my infrastructure does not allow, is just not in. So that way the theme for the event today is very well apt. It's digital economy, and that's where most of the discussions are centered around. Now, as part of media, we receive a lot of inputs in the beginning of the year also, wherein people talk about the different trends that are going to be hot in a particular year. And we've seen that since the inception of IT, there have been different phases, different set of technologies that have been hot during different periods of time. At one point, you had the PCs, then data centers, e-commerce boom, then you had the smartphones coming in, and along with that the entire digital ecosystem. So now most of this information that we get is coming in from different sources, varied set of sources. Sometimes we even doubt, because we have seen, as the case has been in the past, with, let's say, the Gartner hype cycle, right? Most of it remains hype rather than turning out into reality over a period of time. So we also sometimes doubt as to whether these inputs that are coming in are really going to bear fruition in the coming period of time or not. So what I've done over here is to, over the next few slides, I have taken the gist of all that information that's come in across the different IT domains. Now all of these domains are very closely related to the digital economy that we keep talking about. Now you can say intelligence, you can say big data, cloud, security, surveillance, storage, all these things are very closely related if we look at the whole digital paradigm. So yes, as I said, that digital transformation is upon us, there is no escaping it, and it remains on the priority list of most of the enterprises. A lot of enterprises the large ones have taken steps towards modernizing their IT infrastructure. Some of them, they continue to be in the process of doing it. And in case there are cases where people have not actually taken any steps to do it, then it's high time that, especially with the emphasis from the government through different legislations, the GST legislation, the different digital noises that we heard post demonetization, through all those regulations, it's imperative upon enterprises that now is the time that you really embark upon it seriously. Some examples how companies are doing it fruitfully, we are not naming the companies, but this is how a digitally transformed infrastructure helps. A mechanical engineering company uses predictive maintenance to monitor its machines. Automotive manufacturer is making its car safer based on the big data that's coming in from traffic safety data. A retailer, you cannot say much about why digitally transformed retail stores are so important, because retail thrives on customer experience, and so they also use a lot of information through digital channels. Then you can go deeper into science and technology, see how biotech companies, they use different apps, they use different technologies to ensure that the different areas that help them in research and developing drugs are benefited through it. So a biotech company in the West, of course, has developed a mobile app to enable disease identification of plants on the field. So these are just some of the examples. How there are many more examples, but we have just consolidated to give you examples from different fields as to how it's being used beneficially. Now, when we look at digital transformation and digitization of the IT infrastructure as a whole, then security cannot be far behind. So, post demonetization, what are the challenges? The online platforms, and along with it, the need to make people aware of those online platforms. What are the different frauds, the cyber attacks that they can face while using them? We still see a lot of examples being reported of people facing fraud in their digital payments. So this is a work in progress, and I'm sure enterprises also, when they adopt digital technologies, have to ensure that they take the right steps to make their infrastructure secure, both for themselves as well as their customers. Cloud migration, since it's a major emphasis, so security has to be pushed beyond your physical parameters within your enterprise onto the cloud. So there are different techniques that are used over there to protect your whole ecosystem, and those need to be embraced. Identity theft. Identity becomes a very important area now, because everything is now based on your digital identity. Rather than physical signatures, your digital identity becomes important, be it your payments, be it your authentication platforms, be it your wherever you have role-based identities set into your IT ecosystem, digital identity becomes critical. So there have been recent incidences where some 3.2 million debit cards were compromised. We heard about that. And also with companies utilizing third-party service providers to reduce costs, and of course as part of the digital ecosystem. So there is more and more information that's now at risk. So this year we expect more organizations to place stricter compliance regulations as part of their entire ecosystem of vendors, different stakeholders, their collaboration partners, etc. And on top of that, you need to classify and separate and wall off your data to reduce the risk of data being inappropriately accessed or permanently lost. So you need to have a right data recovery strategy along with a clear intersection with the security and ransomware. Ransomware, we all know how it hits the enterprises. So you need to integrate it clearly to ensure that your sensitive data is never at risk. Mobile commerce, yes, a lot of transactions will happen, are happening through mobile phones, and you will only see increased usage in the coming times. So security, we call it consumerization of security, and with heightened demand from users seeking to log in to the cloud-based services. So more transactions shall take place using trusted IDs on your phones, wearables, smart cards. BHIM app comes to mind straight away. You have identification based on your biometrics. You have identification based on your OTPs you received as part of your smartphones. So trusted IDs that integrate security, privacy, and convenience, they provide a new level of assurance. So this is where a lot of action should happen this year. The industry look towards complete identity relationship management as a solution. So you cannot have your different silos where you have to sign in differently. It has to be one integrated solution with authentication happening in a very secure way at each level. Continuing on that, in banking, government, healthcare transactions, you see multi-factor authentication that's already being used, and it's going to further merge into integrated systems to increase that security. The administrators who monitor these networks, these systems, they have to maintain now an integrated system throughout the complete identity life cycle, right from the onboarding till the offboarding of the client. So employees' access rights also come as part of the role changes they have within the organization. As and when their role changes, their identity changes along with it. So that also forms part of this ecosystem. Likewise, there can be some examples given as to what changes we see as part of the security setup. You can see more cloud-based technologies being used for issuing simple things like physical ID cards, where security becomes when there is an increased emphasis on security. So this is one of the things that you could see happening. IoT, we've been talking about it since the last 4 or 5 years. So It is already there, it is already being used as part of different examples that we see around us, more so in the Western societies, and now in India also we see a lot of examples. So this entirely depends on security, how good or how smart the different devices that comprise that IoT ecosystem is. So you'll see more smarts being added to those devices, while also allowing customers to focus on what they do best and allowing the security specialists now to move in and improve the services that they provide. So organizations also start looking at streamlining the processes using real-time location systems, condition monitoring solutions, and cloud-based models for the emerging IoT application. So these are some of the changes that will happen to the IT infrastructure because of the word smart, the word digital coming in, and of course IoT, artificial intelligence, they all form part of that ecosystem. So IoT applications, going further on that, will provide a growing number of energy efficient, productivity and safety oriented features. For instance, if you are providing the occupants a physical space to manage their environmental conditions, in offices to book meeting rooms, to auto configure the audiovisual equipment that's used in the meetings, it all can be IoT based and has to be made more secure. Trusted identities, again, they form part of this whole paradigm, because everything, as I said, is based on what the identity or how secure the identity of the employees that are using it is. So by 2020, we know this, we get different figures, but this is what most of the guys, the experts out there say. By 2020, over 25 billion connected devices will be there globally, and there will be opportunities in abundance for data mining, data analytics. The total revenue generated from IoT industry close to $300 billion US, and India would have a share of around 6% of the global IoT industry. So such is the size of this industry, and this is where a lot of action should happen now. So big data, another closely related IT domain. So you can see future belongs to content that engages the audience. A lot of text, imagery, GIFs and all as part of how big data is being used, how it's being served to the customers. So while people have long been used to searching and finding the information they want, the right content comes through big data analytics. For instance, in the insurance industry, you can take crucial decisions based on the analysis of accumulated data. The data again accumulated, as an example from the healthcare industry, the data that's accumulated from your wearable devices, smart wearables that monitor your heart rate and all. It can enable insurance to monitor the activity of the customers and offer discounts for based on their healthy activities. The future is AI. By 2020, 85% of customer interactions will be managed without a human. We have seen a lot of examples where, especially in manufacturing companies, where robots have taken over the jobs of humans. Recently, we heard Foxconn having replaced their human labor in Taiwanese plant with 60,000 robots. So this is one example. There are many such examples where organizations are looking at. Scary picture for employees, because you see a lot of job losses attributed to that. But then again, we are being told that these jobs will shift elsewhere. So even though you see mundane activities being replaced by intelligent machines, but you can see action happening elsewhere. So these are some of the things that you can expect in the near future. Artificial intelligence, needless to say, helps develop systems that are able to perform tasks previously that required human intelligence. So again, taking example from the insurance industry, the insurance agents can now count on sophisticated systems for more precise and efficient processing of customer claims, and also offering them policies based on that. More and more industrial apps will integrate AI, IoT and augmented reality. That is another closely related field. And of course, apps have moved beyond the smartphone and are now essential. So, I mean, these technologies, they work at the back end of what we actually do through our smartphones. Again, machine learning and predictive analysis, very close field related to this. As I told you, artificial intelligence provides customers with quality services and real-time insurance consulting as well as instant feedback. So this is similar to, as an example, how Netflix suggests a particular movie to any customer. So these are small examples, but coming into the enterprise domain, this is where we can expect the applications to be. Intelligent data manager, this is a little different from what you hear about artificial intelligence. This can automate and allow transfer between the handling, the syncing of data between dozens of applications, databases, and different enterprise data lakes. So you have to manage data that's coming from different silos, and this is where IDM helps. So it is required if enterprises want to eliminate the mundane data protection jobs and operations and instead make data protection transparent, continuous, and automatic. You get the power and visibility to make sure that all data complies with the data privacy laws. Now, that is another very important area, the different compliances that we see, the different regulations that are also coming up as part of the digital ecosystem. So everything cannot be handled efficiently by people. You need to have such technologies that will help you do the job. Surveillance is another key area. So now, in a nutshell, just to quickly run through it, it's not all about video phones, audio systems, cameras, etc. It's about an integrated system where now, you don't need to run through the videos that come through the different cameras. You have intelligent systems that are able to handle it automatically. So surveillance systems would see again integration of a lot of these artificial intelligence and big data techniques. Now in security, how analytics and deep learning helps, you can have the different pattern recognition software to learn about different kinds of behavior as are seen through the multitude of security cameras around. So a fact that I've already emphasized upon. Cloud models, there is a lot of push towards the cloud and for the right reasons, and hybrid solutions are here to stay. The current models, the current cloud models that most of the organizations, especially the large organizations follow, they are not tuned for the new digital ecosystem. So therefore, as enterprises increasingly embrace hybrid infrastructure models, the current pricing models, and that's a very important feedback for the vendors, the current hybrid, the current pricing models from the cloud service providers need to be changed accordingly. Because otherwise, with more and more people wanting to shift to the cloud, this entire cloud ecosystem might not be tenable. So storage is one area where we have seen a lot of shakeups happening with companies acquiring the others, because for the simple reason, point solution providers are now not sustainable. You need people that can provide powerful data management platforms, and that's why a lot of shakeup has happened in the recent past, and that shall be the trend that is going to continue. Software defined storage, we've heard software defined everything a lot. Again, although I've not seen too many instances of people actually embracing it, there is still a lot of effort, focus on the legacy systems as far as the storage is concerned. But then again, this is also a very important area where action should happen. You can reduce your legacy hardware expenses while also delivering the performance and scalability that's needed for the digital ecosystem that includes big data, digital repositories, backup, and other digital workloads. So I mentioned this before, banking, government, and healthcare. These are the sectors where we have seen a lot of action in the digital space already happening. Manufacturing could be possibly be another area, but that's over there we still see it in patches because the investments required are of a comparatively larger scale. So this is how the future, and this is where the action lies in the remaining part of the year, and of course the years to come as we move towards embracing the digital economy. So thanks a lot for being a very patient audience. I think I could give you some pointers to set the tone for the day, and in case you have any questions, you please feel free to get back to us. These are our coordinates. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Adish. If the audience has any question right now. Anyway. Okay. Adish, are you around? Can somebody please pass on the mic?
Hi, good morning. I am Manish Agarwal, working with the QCI Quality Council of India. My question is that in the IT software, India is the leader, but IT hardware, we are nowhere. Why India is not a player in the hardware industry, semiconductor, silicon chips, etc., while countries in Southeast Asia, with China, Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand, Japan, Malaysia, etc., are the leaders in the hardware. Government has started electronics manufacturing cluster, EMC parks, but still India is very much lagging behind Southeast Asia. Alcina, based at Okhla, is also actively involved in the process. So what is your comment on that? Thank you.
Just briefly answer it, and then Adish, you can answer. Even in the software, sir, we are leaders only in the services space. Product space, we still have a long way to chase. We need to go a long way in that. So as far as your question is concerned about hardware manufacturing, I think the government has begun a lot of efforts. Previous government began a lot of efforts. They came up with the new policy, allowed a lot of incentives to manufacturers here. This government is pretty much focused with its Make in India plan, and there are
but we have missed the bus, so we are the laggards.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I think that's the biggest takeaway for the government of India, and it needs to ponder upon it and work on that. Adish, if you may.
Just to add to that, he very well put it. The thing is that hardware requires very large scale investments, right? And it works on economies of scale. For instance, everything related to IT hardware requires chips, and to manufacture those chips, you require very large scale investments. And the profits only start coming in when you are able to sell in volumes. So that is why you see the Southeast Asian and Japan, Taiwan and all, they already have those investments in place, and now they are making the most of those investments. As far as hardware investments in India is concerned, yes, there has been a lot of emphasis on Make in India. We have seen some companies also coming in. Apple is also now, I hope in the final rounds of setting up base in Bangalore. So you can expect action happening over there, but this is primarily the reason of capex that has stopped India from being a hardware hub as of now. And plus also there are policies of the government which the policies in Southeast Asian countries are more investment friendly. India is still in the process of opening up, becoming more liberal as far as the investment scenario is concerned. So I hope that answers your question.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Adish. And I think the biggest takeaway from your tech trends is the word that resonates with me most is trusted.